here. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change, yeah. On me. Tell them that's like, yeah, it's still love it. I'm taking a shot for my enemies. I can't waste no more time on my energy. I know they know I got it on lock. Go against me, that's a long shot. Cause I'm counting wins all around the clock. Never doubt me, boy, I don't stop. Who do you feel when they make you the monster? I am not scared of none of you imposters. Taking the lead now while they watching. Think you should leave now while the options. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. I'm running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down, no. This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change, yeah. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. I do not gamble, but bet on me. Tell them that's like, yeah, it's still love it. I'm taking a shot for my enemies. I can't waste no more time on my energy. I know they know I got it on lock. Go against me, that's a long shot. Cause I'm counting wins all around the clock. Never doubt me, boy, I don't stop. Who do you feel when they make you the monster? I am not scared of none of you imposters. Taking the lead now while they watching. Think you should leave now while the options. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. I'm running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down, no.
Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac, and tonight our Cleveland Cavaliers were back in action. The opponent being that of the Minnesota Timberwolves, an opponent that Darius Garland and company have had a difficult time with lately entering to tonight. They are 40-27 all time against Minnesota and have a winning percentage of 0.597, third amongst all opponents all time, which is great. But they enter tonight just 4-6 versus many over their last 10 matchups. Well, you can mark that up a game. They are now 41-27 all time against Minnesota. And it feels really good to say that after the matchup that the Cavaliers just had, right? Suffice it to say, it was absolutely, positively one of those games that you are hoping for a victory tonight, and especially considering the overall performance and outcome of the Cavs' prior game, which was an ass whooping on national TV. Let's not be coy. Let's be frank. That happened to double as an NBA game, that being the Thunder versus the Cavs. But here we are. You know, we're not here to talk Cavs Thunder. We're here to talk Cavs Minnesota, or rather Cavs Timberwolves, who came in at just 5-5 over their last 10. They've kind of struggled during the beginning stages of the Julius Randle era. They're adjusting, and I don't know if they'll be the same type of threat in the Western Conference down the stretch as they were in previous years, with Karl Anthony Towns still leading the way alongside Anthony Edwards, right? That said, individually, the Wolves do boast some highly flammable and highly dangerous talents in the likes of Edwards and Randle. And right off the bat, containing those two was going to be pretty difficult, with the likes of Evan Mobley and Isaac Okoro being ruled out prior to the start of the game. Now, just to be noted, right now, Cleveland sports rather, a 3-0 record after tonight's victory without Mobley in the lineup, and 11-2 rather without Isaac Okoro. So they have managed to circumvent their absences, but tonight was, at least entering, it was not going to be a small task. And I tell you, right out of the gate, almost immediately, maybe not the way that I would have thought it would, Minnesota did give Cleveland some problems. They began the game going 7 of 10 from 3-point range. The Cavs went to a zone really early, as we've seen them do more and more often lately, and it just did not work early on. Minnesota drained triple after triple after triple after triple in the early going, and what didn't help that was that the Cavaliers had some defensive miscommunications, and frankly, they weren't rotating quickly enough. That, to me, was the real emphasis at the start of the game from a defensive standpoint. If you're going to go to the zone, okay, that's one thing. But if you're not going to be quick enough on the rotations, it's going to hurt. And it should be noted that this Minnesota team is a team that is very, very capable of shooting well from 3-point range. They entered tonight with the 4th most made triples in the league and the 4th best overall 3-point percentage at 38.4%. So it's not like the Cavaliers didn't understand that and were aware of this. They are absolutely equipped to overcome the zone. Now, they're coming off a performance in which they drilled 22 shots from range on 40 attempts. That's 55%. That was primarily on the back of Anthony Edwards and Naz Reid, who combined for 14 of those 22 in that performance. And Edwards, like, what else can you say about the guy tonight? They really held him in check. It felt, he did finish with 28 points and 5 assists on 9 of 22 from the field. And that feels like a pretty good stat line. But at the end of the day, the Cavaliers, they made him work for just about every look that he got out there. And I couldn't be happier with some of the defensive possessions played against Edwards. But as we know, he leads the NBA in most categories related to the 3-point shot, right? He leads the league in pull-up triples. He's shooting 43.1% on 7.2 pull-up triples per game and is knocking down 3.1 of those. He's an electric shooter. Sometimes he's just going to beat you in that way, and that's what he did against the Knicks the other day, but tonight that just did not feel like the case. And it should be noted that he is a very, very good shot maker in terms of contention, right? He is making 36.6% of his 36.6% of his 2.5 tightly contested triples. And that may not sound like much, or rather average when you hear that on the surface, but it's actually the 4th most efficient in the league among players with at least 2 attempts of that variety. He's just a knockdown shooter. But y'all already knew that. He literally leads the league in total 3-pointers made with a staggering 175 across 41 games prior to tonight. He added 4 more tonight, so he is up to 179 on the season, which is by far the most in the NBA. We know he is a damn good shot maker, which is that's just something difficult to deal with when you don't have a lot of great wing defenders available to you, with Isaac and Evan not available. Dean, he's going to do what he can, but he's already trying to defend the likes of Julius Randle out there. It's a difficult matchup. But with all that being said, it wasn't exactly like that continued for the entirety of the game. They did cool down in a major way as they followed up that 7-10 start from distance with a absolutely horrific stretch, going 2 of their next 14 from 3-point range. And the Cavs, for their part, would capitalize on this and climb back into the game behind strong ball movement and shot making from Donovan Mitchell, who went off for 22 points on a pretty damn efficient 8 of 13, including 3 of 6 from range in that first half. And man, did we need that. Hell, he needed that. He needed to see that after the game against OKC. And he was the primary reason why they were able to enter the half tied 60 all. And had he not been as stellar as he was in that first half, we could be talking about an entirely different outcome rather from this game tonight. The team entered the half tied 60 alongside Minnesota, despite shooting just 9 of 24 from range. Also credit to Jared Allen and Dean Wade in the early going for stepping up in the absence of Evan Mobley, as Dean drilled 2 first-half triples and had a massive putback dunk, and Jared Allen made sure to make himself an available target for the ball handlers as he both cut to the basket for some pretty damn easy buckets and went to work inside the restricted area at times. But if I did have a real complaint, because I got to be honest, if I had one real complaint in that first half, after everything that we saw, the explosiveness from Donovan Mitchell, the good shot making from some of the reserves, the one thing that I would probably complain about is the rebounding. And I knew without Mobley, the team would obviously need to resort to more team rebounding than ever. But Jared Allen definitely, it felt at times like he needed to step his game up on the glass against 2 very good rebounding bigs in Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. Hell, throw Naz Reid in there. But Rudy and Randall each had double-digit rebounds in the first half alone. Each of them had 10 apiece to Jared Allen's 2. You heard that correctly. And Jared would finish the night with just 4 total rebounds. And I get some of that is fluky because the ball, you're never going to be able to completely predict where it's going to land. And there were some rebounds out there that just came right back to the likes of Randall and Gobert and others, but I did feel at times like Jarrett did get out hustled at times on the glass, but there's not much to complain about because I felt like he did his job and then some on the defensive end, and as we'll talk about a little bit later on. But if that was my biggest complaint about the first half, was Jarrett not necessarily being able to have a large impact on the glass in that first half. But in the second half, things were pretty damn solid. Donovan Mitchell opened things up with a drive and a score inside, and then right on time, much like we have seen this season, Darius Garland came to life, scoring 10 of his 29 points in the third quarter alone. He drilled triples, he knocked down mid-range jumpers, he found teammates for good looks at the rim and out on the perimeter, one of which was kicked off by a stellar defensive stand or possession by Jared Allen, who would deny Rudy Gobert an opportunity to drive inside for a layup. And that's what I mean. Like for all the shortcomings that he had on the glass tonight, he was damn good on the defensive end. I thought he did a fine job against the likes of Gobert and Reed and Randall out there. I thought he contained the drives. He made life difficult on Anthony Edwards anytime he tried to get in there. It was a really solid performance from Jared Allen on that end of the floor. And also, shout out to Ty Jerome. This man, he's just capable of being such a spark plug off the bench. It always just seems like good shit happens when Ty Jerome is out there. He was a major factor in a third quarter that saw the Cavs outscore Minnesota 29-19, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the fewest of any of the third quarters in January so far. He played a big role in Cleveland going on an 8-0 run to close out the third, followed by another quick 10-0 run, or should I say 12-0 run to open the fourth. The triple that he hit in the opening minute of that fourth quarter was a thing of beauty. It was a deep one too. So they managed to go on, if I'm not mistaken, a 18-0 run to take a 20-point lead. It was just awesome stuff. And honestly, a big portion of that tonight was their work out in transition. I think that they were obviously capable of putting up big time numbers in transition, but tonight it really, really felt like they made it a point of emphasis to do so, as we saw them get out on the fast break numerous times, numerous opportunities for them. Overall, if I'm not mistaken, they scored 19 fast break points. They get out in transition. And this is a team, as you guys are probably aware of, they are very good at generating transition offense. It's often tremendous. They rank 12th in transition points as a team, scoring 23.8 a night. Of that variety, they score 1.18 points per possession in transition, which happens to be the third most in the NBA. And much of that is rooted in defense. As we know, as they say, defense leads to offense. And that has certainly been the case for this team through the first now 41 games of this season. So that was pretty awesome. And then one of the bigger things that I think we are all aware of, everything that we saw prior to this game and against OKC, the Cavaliers took care of the ball tonight. They turned the ball over just 7 times, and which led to just 13 points off of turnovers for Minnesota, which is actually tied for the fewest turnovers they've had all season, my friends. And that actually follows a game in which they committed the most turnovers in one game, which came against OKC, where they gave the ball away 21 times and ceded so many points off of turnovers off of those. What a turnaround. I mean, really, and to be clear, this team is good at taking care of the basketball despite what we have seen lately. They average the 5th fewest of any team in basketball with 13.3 turnovers per game. And quick reminder, the league average is 14. They take care of the ball. So it was good to see them not have yet another performance where they were sloppy with the basketball. And Minnesota did kind of try and take a page out of what Indiana and what Oklahoma City had done in games past, and that is press Cleveland. Use that length to their advantage because they have a lot of wings over there that can make life difficult on you. Anthony Edwards is no slouch defensively. They have guys like Nikhil Alexander. They have players like Jayton McDaniels who can get up in you. There are a lot of different little wrinkles that they can throw at you to generate pressure on the defensive end. And that's addition to having a player like Rudy Gobert, who's won multiple, if I'm not mistaken, 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. So attacking him at the rim, that's pretty damn difficult. And I thought the Cavaliers, they did so. Donovan Mitchell drove inside numerous times on the likes of Gobert. We saw Darius Garland get his. It was just a solid performance all the way around. And speaking of Darius Garland, this man was finished with 29 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 8 of 19 from the field, including 5 of 10 from three-point range. He had the most triples of any Cavalier tonight. And you know what's crazy to me? Donovan Mitchell took 15 triples. I guess he was really just trying to get his shot going. But Darius, 5 of 10, very, very efficient, 8 of 8 from the charity stripe. And I thought that this man just continues because he was really the only bright spot that Cleveland had against OKC. And he has just continued to play all-star level basketball. He has just been something else over his last couple of games, man. It's been phenomenal. And I could not be any prouder of Darius coming off the season that he had last year, because a lot of people were so ready to give up on our old pal here and Darius Garland. And prior to tonight, over his last 10 games, this man was putting up 22.7 points, 7.9 assists, shooting 52.5% from the field, including 35.7% from three-point distance. He's been playing like an all-star, and I hope that the coaches, because that's what it's going to be left up to, I hope that the coaches see the impact that this man has on winning, and they decide that they're going to put him into that. And I think we all know and realize that he deserves it. I just hope that the coaches have been paying attention to that, because frankly, I don't know how you put some of the names that were ahead of him. In the third fan returns, you still have a number of players ahead of Garland. You got LaMelo Ball, who I don't believe is a better player than Darius Garland. You got Damian Lillard, who's having a pretty damn good season. Jalen Brunson, you know, he's got my respect. Trae Young, who's just been an absolute beast in terms of facilitation this year, leading the league by far in assists. Tyrese Maxey, Cade Cunningham, who has been so pivotal in getting Detroit to where they are right now, in, you know, among the top 8 in playoff seeding in the East. So I understand why all of these guys kind of have cases, but I just hope that the coaches take it upon themselves to put Darius Garland in there, because he's just meant so much to this team. He's been the orchestrator, right? And, you know, no disrespect to Donovan Mitchell, who is still Cleveland's best player, especially when he's locked in. And that's a title that he may not hold for too much longer with the type of leap that Evan Mobley is making. But and also no disrespect to the season that Evan Mobley has had, but Darius Garland has really truly been the orchestrator of this offense this season. He has been the key to making things work at times when frankly, other guys have just been off. Again, against OKC, where Lou Dort and company absolutely shut down Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland came to play. He was really the only bright spot outside of maybe Jared Allen, who the Cavaliers were getting the ball to early on, but seemingly abandoned after OKC kind of adjusted. But it was really nice to come out and get this palate cleanser of a game against Minnesota. And now, if I am not mistaken, the Cavaliers move to 12-1 against the Western Conference, and they're going to continue to play the West, if I'm not mistaken. The Cavaliers' next couple of games, they have a MLK Day matchup against the Phoenix Suns. They have a matchup against the Houston Rockets following that, and their next opponent from the Eastern Conference will be none other than the Philadelphia 76ers on next Friday. So they're going to be out west for a little while now, but this is a conference that they have done very, very well against this season. And tonight's performance just showed you that they are capable of turning the page on bad performances, because no matter how you slice it, the Cavaliers absolutely underperformed on national television. So it's really nice to see them get back into the win column in such dominant fashion. And they weren't perfect tonight. There were definitely possessions in which I felt that the Cavaliers were lackadaisical on the defensive end, i.e. the rotations to open the game, right? If you're going to go to a zone, you have to make sure that you are crisp and clean and timely in your rotations. I've genuinely felt like that wasn't the case to open the game, but as the game wore on, the Cavaliers, they stuck to their guns, and Minnesota went cold. They would end up shooting 39% from 3-point distance on the night, but don't let that fool you. They were absolutely cold in that second quarter. They were 2 of 14 after going 7 of 10 on their first 10 attempts. And, the bulk of that 3-point production that elevated that percentage came during the latter stretches of the fourth quarter. So the Cavaliers absolutely did the job on the defensive end. And Cleveland was shot 35% from 3-point range, 46% from the field overall, which both totals are lower than what Minnesota did. But I felt good about the looks that we got. They were 92% at the charity stripe on 25 attempts. You always love to see that for a team that, not necessarily ranks very highly in terms of generating a ton of free throws. The turnovers, like I said, that was really good to see them drop to 7 after giving the ball away 21 times the prior game. So that's awesome. The ball movement I thought was really great tonight. Probably could have had more assists. That guys knocked down more shots. They out-rebounded Minnesota despite being down Evan Mobley. I thought that was pretty cool. But the one gripe that I had in regards to that was some of the second chance opportunities, or the second chance points rather, that Minnesota had, especially in the first half, where they generated 11 second chance points in total and would finish the game with 14, which is actually tied with Cleveland. So if that tells you the Cavaliers, after ceding 11 second chance points and allowing only 3 in the second, they absolutely clamped down and ended possessions in a much more timely manner for, against Minnesota rather. So good, some good stuff tonight. And somebody had asked me prior to tonight's game, is this a needle mover, or would this game, win or lose, be a needle mover for me? And my answer was simply no, right? Win or lose, this was never truly going to be like a win to gloat about, or a win that pushes the needle or pushes the narrative forward for what this team can be or what it can accomplish. What I was aiming to see tonight was how they would respond after taking such an ass whooping on national television, getting back into that win column, getting back to those good habits, right? No game is ever going to be completely 100% perfect. You're always going to have some type of issue somewhere. Somebody will fuck up. You will have something to discuss. And you can learn a lot more in your losses than you can in your wins. And I felt like they took some of those things, i.e. the ball handling, which is probably one of the major reasons why we saw Karis LeVert enter the starting lineup instead of a Max Strus, right? As Evan missed tonight's game, Wade was bumped up to the fourth spot, or as the fourth starter at power forward, and then Karis LeVert started at the 3. And I think getting that additional ball handling help out there kind of shored things up. And while LeVert wasn't a perfect game for him, he would finish with just 2 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and was 1 of 6 from the field. And boy, oh boy, some of those 3-point misses, I felt, man, they were head scratchers because he was wide open. But more of the story is the gamble paid off, I thought, for Kenny Atkinson in going with an additional ball handler, because you turn the ball over just 7 times. That's 14 fewer than your previous game. And you ceded many fewer points off of turnovers as a result of that. And so a good adjustment by Kenny Atkinson prior to tonight's matchup. And then he had a lot of good in-game adjustments. A lot of people, and I'm going to point this out, people consistently shit on George Niang for his performances, especially on the defensive end, whether he's too slow or not quick enough or not big enough or not long enough to play against some of the rangier 4s out there, some 3s, frankly, in certain lineups. People always criticize him, but never want to give him the credit when he has a good game. I've noticed that trend. And this is a man, he's been an Iron Man for this Cavaliers team. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Iron Man, as you see all this Iron Man shit in the back. But in the literal sense, George Niang has quite honestly been a Iron Man for this Cavaliers team. He's basically played all games since entering, or at least all regular season games since entering the rotation. And I'll tell you this, when this guy's shot is falling, as Niang went 5 of 7 from the field, including 3 of 4 from 3-point range, generally it's good. He's generally a player, a net positive that you can get something out of, even if he's giving away some things on the defensive end. But tonight he would finish with a double-double. That's not something, I think it was just the 3rd of his career, if I'm not mistaken. But to see him go out there and attack the glass, to see him go out there and knock down the shots and give it his best on the defensive end, you got to give him credit for that. If you're going to shit on the guy, at least know when to credit or throw credit to a player when credit is deserved and credit is warranted. If you're going to criticize a player, please learn when it's time to praise them too, frankly, because this is a performance, especially with Evan being out, and you're going to have to go to Niang more. And case in point, Niang played 29 minutes tonight. That is by far the most, well, not by far, because Max played 28, but that is the most of any reserve tonight. And Kenny essentially played a 4-man or a 9-man rotation. You have Niang, who played 29, Strus, who played 28, Jerome, who we've already discussed, who was phenomenal, was a spark plug in that third quarter, played 22, and then Sam Merrill got some minutes. He played 7 tonight. And so seeing George go out there and pick up some of the slack that Evan Mobley leaves behind in his absence, that was pretty cool. So I hope that people understand that it's okay to give a guy praise if you're going to discredit them most of the time. And as I say that, let's head into the chat here. Philip Bandicoot says, I might have judged him hard sometimes, but he needs to be more consistent, which is this team's biggest problem as well. He had a good game tonight, though. I think that's fine to admit that. And for what it's worth, I think that George Niang has been actually pretty damn good on an offensive consistency standpoint this season. Now, he started off pretty cold, and prior to tonight's game, he entered shooting 47.1% from the floor, which is good, including 37.6% from 3-point range. Now, it's not necessarily the 40% type of shooting from range that we were all hoping for when he was first acquired, but I'd say 38%, and it's going to rise after tonight's performance. I'm going to see if StatViews has it updated as we speak, but shooting anywhere between 37 to 39% from 3-point range on good volume, that is damn respectable, especially coming out of your front court. And make no mistake, he's doing that, right? Enter tonight taking 4.3 triples per game and knocking down basically 38%. And so I think he has been consistent this season. He started off kind of cold, but as of late, he's been playing some really good offensive basketball. There will be the occasional dud or performances that frankly do not favor him due to the matchups on the defensive end. But when he is knocking down that shot, when he is rebounding the basketball, you can find worse reserves. So that's my thing with Niang. Michael R says, I'm okay with getting rid of Strus. I'm not. I think that come the playoffs, if the Cavaliers do not acquire a Cam Johnson, which to be honest, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're probably going to see a move on the margins, maybe a third big being acquired. I already put out something on a possible Duop Reith acquisition, maybe Larry Nance Jr., if that's possible. But assuming that they don't have the necessary assets to acquire a Cam Johnson level player, I think that the Cavaliers might eventually turn back to Max Strus come the playoffs. And I get that it can still be wholeheartedly matchup driven if you're playing a Boston Celtics team or an Atlanta Hawks team or a Milwaukee Bucks, somebody out there who has some size. I think that there is a case to be made that maybe you look Dean Wade's way, maybe you look to go Isaac Okoro because of the perimeter point of attack defense he can afford you, but I certainly think there's still a case to be made for Max Strus starting as well. And we have heard it from the horse's mouth. I do not think that Max Strus cares at all about whether or not he starts or comes off the bench. He has told us that verbatim. He doesn't care. But I think that Kenny Atkinson, at the end of the day, when it comes to the playoffs, maybe he might opt to turn towards Max Strus. And Max tonight, in his 28 minutes, he would finish with 5 points, 6 rebounds, 2 of 7 from the floor, including 1 of 5 from three-point range. Now, I will tell you guys this. Max Strus is a very streaky shooter, but you guys already knew that, especially after watching him in his last season with Cleveland. But I thought that last year he showed that he was much more than just a shooter. And that to me is what makes Max Strus valuable. His facilitation, which is not discussed all that often. His rebounding is actually pretty good for his size. He finished with 6 boards tonight. And that won't always be the case, but I thought that he has started to round things out as of late. Now, entering tonight, he came in shooting 38.5% from range on roughly 5.4 attempts per game. That's pretty damn good. So I understand why people might be okay moving on from Strus if you get a better piece of return or more or less streaky type of shooter out there. But for what he does for the salary that he's making, I think the Strus is a damn good player because he's more than the player that we initially thought he was, especially when Sam Merrill's shot is just kind of abandoned him. And you never know what you're going to get from Karis LeVert on a night-to-night basis. Isaac Okoro, since the shoulder injury, is still struggling with his shot, and he's not really a high-volume shooter in the first place. You don't have a lot of options you can turn to. Ty Jerome has been awesome, but Ty Jerome and Max Strus, while they have some skill sets that overlap, they're two different types of players, I would argue. So I don't know. You can't really sell me on a Max Strus trade unless you're throwing a player of equal or value at me, or somebody who I feel would fill another one of the Cavs' needs, which is a third big, a reliable rotation caliber third big. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Jayquest says, I'm more critical of Karis and Isaac than Niang right now. Karis started the season off playing like a 6 Man of the Year candidate right alongside the likes of Ty Jerome. But since then, it's really felt like he's kind of struggled, right? LeVert, from a statistical standpoint, he's having a fine season, shooting 48% from the field, including 43% from three-point range, numbers that are very, or should I say really respectable, right? 11.1 points per game, 3.8 assists. That's nothing to downplay, but it's not like he shot the ball all that well as of late. Against Oklahoma City, he did shoot 3 of 5 from the field, but prior to that, against Indiana in both of those matchups, he shot a combined 1 of 9. It's very hit and miss. Some of the inconsistency issues have kind of crept their way back into his game, and to his credit, I don't necessarily think he's doing too much different than what we have seen him do to start season, because he's largely cut out the isolation attempts that we have seen him do in the past. He's cut out most of the mid-range opportunities or mid-range attempts that we've seen from him in the past. and it's mostly just at the rim or 3-point attempts. And he just isn't converting at the same rate that he did at the start of the season, which is normal, right? The Cavaliers were due some regression. And as a team, let's not get it twisted. They have regressed a little bit in terms of 3-point shot making, but it was never to be expected that they would continue to be a 40+% shooter all season long. But I still say leading the league at, about 39% from 3-point distance, that's damn good, because prior to tonight, they were shooting 39.7% from range on 40.5 attempts. To expect them to continue to shoot that highly, I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of fool's gold of a start, but I think that Karis LeVert was played a big role in them getting off to that really, really good start from 3-point distance. But yeah, he's struggled with inconsistency more and more as of late. D Jackson says, how do we play the Suns on Monday with KD and Booker? I think that it all depends upon who is available. If Dean Wade is the guy that you're going to be able, if Dean Wade is going to be the guy that you're going to have to turn to if Evan Mobley doesn't play, and I'm assuming that Evan Mobley is back, but if Dean Wade is the guy that you're going to, I think that you just place Dean Wade on KD and hope for the best. KD is one of those guys that he is fully capable of cooking just about anybody, even at this stage of his career. He's not what he once was, don't get it twisted, but he is still certainly capable of cooking you no matter who you put on him, because of, he's just a big ass dude out there, 6'11", shooting 52.3% from the field, including 37.9% from 3-point distance, putting up 27 points per game this year for Phoenix. Regardless of how good or bad people believe that Phoenix is, KD and Booker, these are awesome guys. They're, from an individual standpoint, they present you some unique matchup issues. And so I'm hoping that Isaac Okoro will be available too, because this is going to be a game in which you could probably use his defensive prowess out there. So I don't know. I'll leave it to Kenny, but from a pure matchup standpoint, I think that if you have to go with Dean Wade, if Evan Mobley is not available, you live with the results of that, because the team defense has been pretty good. I think they entered tonight as the 10th rated defense on the season. We'll have to see. Moondog07 says, hey bro, question unrelated to basketball, but do you fuck with Iron Man and Marvel Rivals, or do you not play the game because I main Iron Man? I gotta drop a bombshell on you guys. I have never played it. I haven't played it once. In terms of video games, it's pretty hit and miss for me right now. I am a gamer, make no mistake, as you see the joy, the arcade stick back here. If you're watching over on YouTube, I fuck with a lot of fighting games. I play a lot of Resident Evil, stuff like that. A lot of RPGs out there too. But in terms of like Marvel related content, Marvel related stuff, I'm really, really big on Marvel Fighting Collection right now. I play a lot of that, but not a lot of Marvel Rivals really at all. I've heard a lot of good things about it. My brother keeps telling me I need to play it, but I haven't played it once. So maybe I'll jump on that. Thank you for the reminder. All of that said, this was such a good palate cleanser. I'm in a much better, mindset, space of mind than I was after that OKC game. Because what was I telling you guys during that stream? That one, I was recording live, and I never do that during a game. The game just felt like it was over way before the final whistle blew. But not only that, but to me, although that was just one game in the regular season, it felt like it meant more than most games. One, because it was obviously on national television, and two, because of the way that the Cavaliers played, the way that they entered the season, the hot start that they had gotten off to, and having a real opportunity to continue to prove that a lot of the narratives are incorrect about this Cavaliers team in general. Having the opportunity to do that on the national stage meant a lot. And seeing them take the L that they did in the fashion that they did, it was really disheartening. But to see the Cavaliers respond like they did tonight, that was great. And I think we can all kind of rest easy, as we saw. I think Dallas beat the OKC team to give the Cavaliers the best record in the NBA entering today's game. And I think with tonight's victory, they kind of solidified, they're back up on top. They have the best record in the NBA again. So that's great. A good way to kind of kick off your weekend for most people, right? I don't know. That said, it's probably a good place to end it. If you'd like to reach out to me, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. We're really not TikTok. Jesus, I got to catch myself. I got to change that whole thing up. TikTok is banned. Changes a lot, man. Changes a lot. For all the content creators out there that were heavy on TikTok, my condolences to you until they get all this shit sorted out. It's really fucked up. TikTok helped a lot of people grow. So I really hope that that if any of my people in here listening tonight are creators on TikTok or have used that platform to grow their following, I feel for you, man. I really do. This is a really fucked up thing that's happening right now. But let me not get carried away. It's about the Cavs, right? If you want to be added to this Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot that said review to iscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you an invite. If you're watching over on X, do your boy a favor. Head on over to YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber to this Cavalier podcast. Hit that notification bell while you're there too, so you never miss out on a live stream. And with that said, go Cavs. You guys have a good weekend.